You guys will never guess how many miles is on this Subaru, and also one trick to save you from grenading your Subaru transmission. Let's get started. This is a 2018 Subaru Outback. We're going to take a look around this, and you guys are going to be astounded at just how many miles are on this thing. I'm going to show you some tricks that I have seen an accident happen at another shop, and it grenaded the transmission. Definitely going to let you guys in on that little secret, a little trick, and how these are good or bad. What are the general consensus on these? We all think about Subarus and think about blown head gaskets. We're going to talk about that as well. And what are we doing to this car? Before we get started, let's take a look around this Outback. All right, guys, does this have 62,000 miles, 149,000 miles, or 233,000 miles? You guys can let us know in the comments. We can see right off the bat it has some foggy headlamps. It does have some Michelin Cross Climate snow-looking tires on it. The body appears to be in good shape. The paint shows well. It's not dented or beat up. It does have some 5-spoke looking wheels. It is Subaru all-wheel drive Outback, but it appears very nice. Let's go ahead and hop under the hood. All right, guys, so you guys know we're going to be moving to Las Cruces very soon, and if you live in that area and you want to get your car serviced, get it repaired, we are taking people on the schedule and putting them down on the calendar. Contact Crazy D in the office if you want to get on that schedule. Our opening day is July 13th down there in Las Cruces, and we'd love to fill up that schedule with cars. If you guys live in the area, don't forget that. Now, this is our 2.5 liter opposed 4-cylinder, not like a Honda Civic, but it's flat, like the old air-cooled Beetles of yesteryear. 2 cylinders on one side and 2 cylinders on the other side. And as you can see, it is extremely easy to work on because of its orientation being flat and cut instead of a V. The alternator is literally right there. So is the AC compressor, right over there. And when you do an oil change, there's our oil filter, an upside down one. Right there, easy to get to. We can see our belt is easy to get to. These are very, very pleasant engines to work on. It's a little dusty, a little dirty. Again, let us know how many miles do you think this thing has on it. We're going to continue our inspection and give you guys a better glimpse and see if you can guess how many miles it has on it. Now, this isn't the years of the blown head gaskets. Those are before 2010, way back in the early 2000s. But I have done several of those, repaired them, and pulled the engine out. It was a similar setup to this. And it's one of the easiest engines I've ever pulled. Not the easiest engine I've ever seen pulled is the yellow car back there, the Lotus Esprit V8. It was insanely easy for Danielson. So let's go ahead and get this thing in the air, and then afterwards we'll do the interior review, and you guys can get the answer to the miles it has on this thing. Let's get this thing up in the air. So luckily, the reason why it's here is not a blown head gasket. These years are not known for blown head gaskets. In fact, after 2010, they pretty much solved that problem. It did have some brake issues, though. We'll go over that here in a little bit. We can take a look underneath right now, and we can see it really doesn't have any serious leaks going on. I do see a tiny bit of seepage coming through right here. Looks like valve cover gaskets. We'll let the customer know about that. These brakes up front are nice and thick. The rotors are thick, probably 80% remaining. CV boots are good. Nothing loose there. Brakes look good here. CV boots are good. Sway bar link, nothing loose, and nothing loose there. So on Subarus, on our transaxles, not only does it have basically the front differential built into it, but also the transfer case. Everything is built into one unit here. We don't see any leaks going on, but I want to show you something in a shop I experienced one time where the tech had drained the fluid. There's 2 different fluids here. There's the front differential part of it, and there's also the transmission part of it. Those 2 are separate oils, separate compartments, but they're both on the same unit. So we can see we can drain right here our transmission, and that really big drain plug is where we drain the front differential area. The problem isn't draining the fluid. That's pretty easy, but I've heard a lot of lube technicians have this issue as well, is refilling it and putting the refill nozzle into the proper fill port. You can see right here, there's a little plug, which could do the transmission. Then we come over here, And this is the one you normally would use for the transmission. But there's a third one. Way up above the driver CV shaft, there's a fill plug way up here. And that's where you can get into trouble. So there's 3 different holes, but 2 fluids. And I worked at a shop where the technician put the transmission fluid into the differential and the differential fluid into the transmission. And the owner at the time at the place I was working ended up getting to buy a brand new transmission that day. Came back and it was crunching, making crunching noises, and it was toast. It was done. So it's very possible to get that mixed up. Keep that in mind. You say, oh, I can do all my own fluids. I'm going to work on my own Subaru. On these newer ones, you can really get hung up with those fill holes. You can get into some trouble. So definitely a tip to save you a broken transmission. And if you're wondering which one does what, where you should put the fluid in the proper area, you can also Google it. The information's all out there, guys. You just look it up and it'll tell you what's the proper fill procedure. So we have 2 separate exhaust manifolds that go into one, and it pretty much stays one all the way back. Here's a little chamber here, and right above that is our drive shaft. It appears to be fine, nothing loose there. And unlike a conventional 4x4, it does not have a front drive shaft going to the front. The power goes straight out of the transaxle to the front wheels. So only one, really, a drive shaft here. Then we come to the differential. Look how baby it is, Mrs. Wizard.
It is awfully tiny.
Tiny little differential with little bitty CV shafts. And our brakes in the back, you can see it has a brand new rotor, brand new pads. We just put those on. We'll show you why here in a minute. Sway bar link is good. Nothing loose there. CV boots are good. Same over here. New brakes over here. And our sway bar link is not loose, and the wheel is not loose. Look at this baby receiver hitch, Mrs. Wizard.
I guess it can tow a tiny, tiny trailer, bike rack, something.
Yep, a little baby something or other. Again, we got single exhaust coming out the back. And you can see we do have winter style tires on it, but let's check the date codes on those. So we see right here, 16th week of 2024, and you guys have seen the inspection. What do you guys think on the miles? Let us know in the comments again, and now we're going to get it on the ground and show you the real miles in Mrs. Wizard's interior review.
Okay, ladies and gents, what do you think? Is it going to have that 60,000? Is it going to have that 100 and some thousand? Or is it going to have that 233? Let's go find out. Let me turn the key on and click. There you have it, 233,022 miles. This does not, absolutely does not look like it has that many miles. The outside, the paint is so nice. Interior-wise, everything is looking good. The dash, really nice shape. Everything's looking good. Love this kind of steel accent right here. It's got a nice pattern to it. They have added a cell phone mount, but look at the screen. I don't even see fingerprints really much on there. Everything, again, not 233,000 miles. Okay. Everything, again, I don't even see so much as dust motes in here. Okay. And as we move to our center section, and some of you may be upset with this, but let me know what you think. Okay, I've lifted this up. You can see there's cash in there. Okay, we're an honest shop, but not everybody is. I would not put cash, even though it's just a $1 bill. That's a temptation for some techs. Not us. That's safe in there. They're going to find that $1 bill when they get this car back. But when you're dropping a car off at a shop, don't do that. Our seats are looking okay. They got a few marks on here, but nothing like you would think with 233,000 miles. I've seen cars with 60,000 with worse seats than this. As we look at our door card, okay, looks like they travel a little bit. They got some bug spray. Nice. I would definitely keep that handy around here. And in our back seat, okay, they've got a grocery bag, but the seat's looking good. Headliner, not sagging. I don't see any marks up there either. So here we are back at the steering wheel, and we have lots of our controls that we're used to seeing. We have that lovely Subaru logo here in the center. So enough of this interior talk. Let's see what else the Wizard was talking about with those brakes. They don't look so good.
So this car was here not too long ago for an inspection. We did inform them the rear brakes were getting a little thin, and they said they'd have to bring it back to get that done, and that's why the car is here today. I wanted to show you guys just how thin they were. It was very close to metal. Take a look. These probably had about 5% or less remaining, and when brakes get this thin, it can be kind of dangerous. This little noise indicator here was just about to start contacting the rotor and making that annoying squealing noise. These rotors were also getting a little thin. You can see they're about right at minimum thickness. The problem with that is if your rotors are getting below minimum thickness and your pads get down to metal, the piston is pushed out really far on the caliper in order to contact the pads to the rotor. It can get so bad, in fact, that it can push the piston out of the caliper or just start leaking brake fluid out. Luckily, that's not happening here. We got new rotors and new pads for the rear. The fronts are still got a lot of life left on them. But another thing too to remember is when these pads get this thin, they can start chunking and breaking off. And then it just accelerates the wear and you're down to metal in no time. It's a good thing to have your brakes inspected probably at least once a year, possibly twice a year, because as that thickness gets thinner and thinner, you don't feel it, you don't notice it, you can't feel it in the brake pedal, and it can get to be dangerous really fast. Whenever we do new brakes and we go ahead and push the brake pedal to get them to seat, it can take 3 or 4 pumps to fill up that gap. Imagine how many pumps it would take if it was thin rotors and thin pads, and that piston in the calipers pushing way out there. You don't want your calipers to start leaking and cause an unsafe condition. If your mechanic says you got 5 to 10% remaining on your car on the brake pads, that's probably not the time to say, hey, now's not a good time, I'm going to put that off for another 6 months or so. No, you probably should get it done. If you have 20, 30, 40% left, yes, you can put that off for a while. But these were thin enough that now is the time. And the customer agreed and he brought it in and we got it taken care of very quickly. So when you guys watched Mrs. Wizard's interior review, were you shocked when you saw the miles? 233,022. I went to move this car and get it on the lift and even I was shocked. I was like, did I read that right? 233,000, or is it 23,000? This thing is in really good shape and it's only a 2018. It's not like it's a 2002. That's a lot of miles since 2018. 233,000, it doesn't look like it. So if you guessed 233,000, you were right. Now, let's talk about the reliability of these Subarus. Some people ask me, I'm looking at an Outback, I'm looking at an Impreza, I'm looking at these different Subarus. Are they a good car? Yes, they are. They are one step below a Toyota. They are very, very good. That didn't used to be the case. In the early 2000s, 01, 02, 03, 04 Outbacks, or Foresters, any of those models, I would say, run away, don't do it. If it hasn't had the head gasket replaced, you are going to get stuck doing it because it's probably going to blow any moment now. That problem was solved around the 2010 range, somewhere plus or minus a year or two, and they haven't had that problem since. They took care of that so that it would never happen again. I know a lot of people with these cars with 200,000 and 300,000 miles on them. They really haven't done any major work to them. They really are a trooper. Very, very reliable. So humans have 2 eyes. Spiders have 8 eyes. And your Subaru in 2018 has 3 eyes. You can see here 1, 2, and 3. It's called the eyesight system. It's with the lane departure warning and the cruise control, all that types of things runs through those cameras, the adaptive cruise control, that is. They are troublesome on these. They can give issue, and you pretty much have to go to the dealer and get it fixed, and they have a special calibration procedure that they can use to recalibrate that. I have seen a few of these where they've gone bad, and I just tell them you have to go to the dealer. And it can be kind of expensive, but that's a technology thing. It has nothing to do with the reliability of everyday driving. It's just that when it does fail, you're going to lose your cruise control, you're going to lose your lane departure warning, you're going to lose a lot of those features that are just going to turn off. I don't see enough of these to take on the calibration procedures and buy all the little, it's like a grid diagram or something that you use to focus the cameras or align them, I should say. And you really need to do these a lot so you get really good at them. This is a life or death type of a thing. If you get that misaligned and it veers them in the wrong direction or the brakes don't apply in time, the dealers do this over and over and over and over again. They know what they're doing with that, and I'm not going to spend the money to get all this equipment to do the calibration so I can do 2 of them a year. This is something that's going to be happening a lot more with modern cars. They're going to have technology and a lot of things that really have to be fixed only at the dealer. Your average independent mechanic's not going to have all the calibration diagrams, all the different things for 12, 15, 20 different cars. It's too expensive. You could have 150 grand out on all of these different special tools and special items used to do the calibrations on these systems. And if you only do 5 or 10 a year, it's just almost not worth it. So people talk about new cars coming out with subscription services like your heated seats and a lot of different features, creature comforts that if you don't pay your monthly fee, they go online, push a button, and now you don't have heated seats. They're starting to do that a lot. That's going to be one of those things, guys, that someone brings it to the shop. Hey, my heated seats quit on me. Do you know what's wrong with it? And they look at it and find out, oh, you didn't pay your bill last month. Can you imagine that? I didn't pay my bill last month, so I lost a feature, a mechanical button feature on my car. It's been shut off. So it's really, really crazy. Cars are getting really tech heavy. Just want to let you guys know that. So yes, these are very reliable vehicles. This one proves the point. It's got very high miles and it shows like it's maybe 120,000 miles. It has almost double that and still doing just fine. Want to get a video out to you guys to show you the brakes and when it's time to get brakes and to kind of show you a tip on the transmission on these that could save you some serious headache. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on this or any other car in the shop, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. The tools we use every day, tried and true, are listed for sale there, and if you purchase any of them, we get a small cut and really appreciate it. And it won't be long, and we'll be filming in our Las Cruces location and doing videos from there. So that means, yes, we're still doing YouTube, and we're still going to be fixing cars. Make sure to hit the subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching.